Welcome to another episode of Connect the Six. I'm your host, Carrie White, and today we'll be discussing all things music and how we can use it as an outlet. Today we have with us Ashley Villaporta, known as Villa, and Kinging. Firstly, I'd like to preface the discussion by saying Keepsakes has launched its youth and music program, and the curriculum is not only based around music, but it also aligns the overall expectations of the Ontario curriculum. In order to help manifest children's hidden creativity and potential, we use non-traditional methods for youth to participate in the program. They also learn music strategies through creating and presenting and reflecting, and also analyzing music theory as it pertains to singing and business. This program also promotes discipline, focus, and positive expressions, and as well as excellence as it relates to academic success. So let's get into it. If you don't mind, can you just introduce yourselves a little bit?
Okay. I go by the name of Villa, and it's spelled V!LLAH. I've been doing music seriously around 2019, but then I've actually taken a break around 2020 to really focus on myself and, of course, of what was happening with around the world. But prior to that, but because I was able to focus on myself, this had helped me gain the confidence and get myself back on track with my music. So this year, for 2022, I started doing I did a lot of live performances ever since end of March, and then ever since I've just been very consistent with live performances and trying to get involved around the community in the Six, and just trying to meet and network with other like-minded individuals. And to this day, I'm still kind of just starting with my music. Like I'm starting to release my first single this year, but that's my journey so far with it. So I'm super excited to really push my craft out there now.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kinging.
Yeah. My name is Kingin. I am a poet or spoken word artist from Brampton. When people ask me about my journey, it's always kind of awkward because I literally started not too long ago. I started February of this year, and from when I started till now, my career has taken off. Things have moved so quickly for me, in terms of my writing skills, my performance skills, and it's been a blessing because I know that I'm using my poetry for a greater purpose. I guess something that I've always wanted to share, and now that I can, is how I discovered poetry. One day, I kid you not, I was making my bed and I was praying out loud. I'm not a specific religion. Well, I practice Buddhism, but that's aside the problem. So I'm praying out loud, and then I started manifesting out loud, and then it started rhyming, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I'm like, let me try something. So I took my phone and I did a piece on freedom, just a freestyle, and it felt so freeing. And I was like, wow, I didn't know words can bring this type of emotion, So from that day in February, I took off. I decided to create the name King Yin, which is divine masculinity and divine femininity with King and Yin, and live my life on a balance. So I've been doing that in order to use my poetry for a greater purpose, which is to connect to the people. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Thank you. That's amazing too. So Villa, we heard from Kinging her little creative process. What would you say is your creative process when it comes to music?
Oh wow. Well, definitely when especially with music, you get a feeling, and whenever I go through a bunch of beats or I hear music instrumentals, I like listening to it and I like the feeling of it. So if I feel there's something that's in it that I'm ooh, okay, I'm vibing with it, I can start something with it, or I hum a melody, then I go forward with it. I never I don't want to break that momentum of the connection with the music. So I always go freely with how I feel with the music first, and then after that go forward with the melody, the melodic tunes to it. But also but also figuring out what my idea of the song is, and like what I'm portraying, what kind of theme am I going with, especially if I'm going with like more hip hop. There is more of that of a different vibe versus it being R&B, being more like calm, more jazzy, more cool, calm and collective. But a lot of it is based on like my vibes, and especially if there's more than one person in the room, I feel like that also is like a huge contribution to the musical process with that. Because again, just being by yourself and trying to do this, yes, there is you have a lot of power with that, but then there's still a lot of power when it comes to more than one individual, especially when they're very like-minded, and but also in a way different too, because then everyone has their own creative process, and when it comes together, then you know, like something beautiful happens. And a lot of also what I also like doing is just like loud, like the loudness. I like hearing it very loud, just as if I'm actually like in the song. So like it a lot of it shows again like how I feel with the vibes of the song, and whether or not if I can like continue going on with it. But yes, that's a part of like a part of my process. And I do like writing things down. Like I like physically, there's also that connection too with a pen and paper. It also helps me out with memorizing as well, because I also like performing my tracks on like backtracks without any words. There are a few songs that I do have that are recorded, but initially I do like the whole connection of being like raw voice and that live feeling, because I am that instrument and my voice is that instrument. So I'd like to again have that kind of that experience with live performances, because again, yes, like it's different when you have an instrument, but again, your voice is very powerful, and again, you could do so much with it. And I know King Yin has definitely done so much powerful things with her voice, and it's so moving.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like you talked about, basically you've been kind of explaining a little bit what your style of music that you create is, right? But for someone that's never heard it before, who would you say is most relatable to, or like is this a distinct to you?
Ooh, I've gotten a few people, a few, like I've had one guy told me that I give Eve vibes, the rapper Eve. And I really like that, because she is very like, she has this like strong, powerful voice too. And I do like, I really inspire myself also with like Lauryn Hill, because Lauryn Hill is like a storyteller as well. She's not just like rapping, she's also singing, and I also want to tie in my singing as well with my rap. But I want to also like, I would love to tie in a little bit of that Missy Elliott spice, add some dancing to it, add, you know, because I want to be a whole mix of things. But initially I'd say like, if you were to get me, it's like a bit of Eve with like that old vibe, and then Lauryn Hill, where if I'm storytelling, then, you know, all eyes on me kind of thing. But I am still also trying to figure out my own sound too, in a way, like that Villa, because again, of course, there are, I'd love to be like compared to other artists, but I am still that like core that I want to do with myself, as like, oh, when you hear me, you're gonna say, oh yeah, that's Villa, that's a Villa sound, like that's definitely Villa vibes. But I'm definitely more hype. I would say like I'm very hype. A lot of people have seen me do a lot of hype songs, but people haven't seen me sing yet. So I feel like that is a different connection within the crowd too. So I'd love to tap into that very soon. But for now, it's been a lot of like hip hop and rap.
So I'm getting a little bit more modern, old school mixture of a little
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so King Yin, spoken word. So like spoken word poetry you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. I've seen a few people produce stuff like that before, and I've always been interested in, you know, the thought process. You talked about how it originally started for you, that you were literally praying and, you know, it came up. What is it like being on stage, like doing this?
Oh wow. That's an interesting question. I feel like every artist can attest to the pre-performance, the performance, and the post-performance. So like the pre-performance is when you're really trying to get yourself into what you're going to be showing. And that is like a meticulous, okay, do it again. Like, let me hear it, do it again. Like that kind of getting ready for it. But the performance, when you're actually on stage, is kind of like taking flight. Like everything that you practiced for, everything that you spent your time on came to this moment. Everything you consumed came to the moment. So it feels really like freeing, almost. And that sigh of relief that everybody enjoyed it. I haven't gotten one that people haven't enjoyed yet, so I can't speak from that. But from now, everyone's typically enjoyed it. So it always feels exciting to know that I'm going to use my words for a reason, and people are going to connect with it on a deeper level.
That's great. So you talked about like picking up really fast, like you've been getting attention for your work, right? Let's talk about your journey so far. What has it been like? The good, the bad, the ugly. What has it been like for you?
It's been interesting. I started just looking for shows, just anywhere that I can get on stage. And then I got a blessing with an ability to perform at the City Hall in BC. I don't even know how that came about, but I just know that I was there and I was amongst a whole bunch of people who were showing their talents as well. But I was so new, I didn't really know anything. Like I was kind of like, I don't know what I'm gonna say, how I'm gonna say it. Just calm down. I'm sure they'll accept the piece. So I started off pretty like big in that sense, starting at like a city hall as my first performance. And then I had to come back to Toronto and dial it back and start going to open mics. And every experience was the same because it was kind of like you're scared to go on, but once you go on, everyone's just like, you're good, you're good. The ugliest experience I had was one day I thought I was too cool for school and I shouldn't practice my poems. So I decided to do a sequence that I had never practiced before, and I messed up the poem 4 times in the performance. Like at the end, to a point that I had to say, honestly, I can't do this poem, I have to move on. And everyone was accepting because I was new, but just me thinking about it again, I hold myself to a specific standard when I go to perform, and I never like wanted to do that again. I've gotten the opportunity to work with Rise Edutainment. They're similar to Keepsakes, but they do something different. Unity Charity, I'm also working with them as well. And I just think it's good to highlight programs like this and like the other ones that I had mentioned, because it gives us artists an opportunity not only to develop our craft, but develop our networking. Like what are the odds that me and Villa would just be in the same circumstance, you know? Like I live in Brampton, you live in Toronto, like we don't get that opportunity to connect unless we get to meet each other. We've seen each other in passing, but we never got to talk, you know? So that's why I feel like programs like this are very important, because it lets us speak to each other and get to know the minds of each other.
Yeah, so right. Thank you so much for that. So Michael Dabson is here with us. He'll just introduce himself just a little bit, just so you're acquainted with him, and then we'll continue back into the questions.
Well, my name is Michael, but my stage name is Connoisseur Ghost. I pretty much know everyone in the room except for Carrie Ann. So it's nice to meet you. I'm an artist entrepreneur. I do most of my music and recording from home. I do music because I love it, not really for much else or much other reason, but at the same time, I know the potential and the power of music, and I want to see where that takes me in life. So that's what I'm all about.
Yes, and Michael, before you came, I was asking Villa and King Yang, what is their creative process? What is it like for them with music? Can you explain that for us?
My creative process. Oh yeah, well, it really depends. It really stems from, I could be, for example, today I had to walk over to the convenience store and get a phone card. So like I was walking to and from the convenience store, and I was just kind of thinking about like just everything that's going on in my life, and I kind of was writing as I was walking, right? So sometimes it's just within my mind, the creative process. I kind of go to the rhythm of the street or the rhythm of whatever it is, and I kind of have that creative tune. Or I'll just be sitting here, and then I kind of turn on a beat, and I find that when I do listen to beats, I often hear the words coming out of the beat, and I kind of just try to put those words onto the paper and then use what it is that I hear coming from there, based on personal experience, of course, but like, you know.
So, Villa, Michael, we heard from King Ying what her journey is like with music. Tell us a little bit about both yours.
Ooh, okay. Do you want me to go first, I guess?
Sure.
Yeah, you go first.
So, I just really started going really serious with my music just this year, and it started more so with my first live performance, which was on May 25th, and that's actually where I actually met. It was March. Yes. March 25th. Sorry, March. Did I say May? Sorry.
Yeah.
It was March 25th, and that's actually where I met Ghost. That was the first time I actually met him this year, and it was it was a promoter that created a whole event to perform. It was a whole pay to play process, and again, there was a lot of like-minded individuals, artists that were there, but as soon as, you know, we've been consistent with doing these shows, we just started to notice that we're like, okay, we were like, yeah, this guy doesn't seem like he's about it for the artist and for himself, but more for himself. So we were kind of like, okay, like let's start, you know, we feel like we could make our own open mics and stuff. And again, it came, I feel like Ghost will explain more with this part. But like I am a part of this artist collective called New Legends Music Group, and Ghost is also in this as well. We're just like a collective of artists that have been performing and try to find shows and connect with the city and create our own open mics to allow other independent artists to come on our platform and to share their craft. But aside from the group stuff, I've been finding performances like within the city as well, like open mics. And then I've also actually auditioned for Honey Jam, which is an all-female, this is also a female an artist development program as well, where you actually had to audition in June, and then the actual concert was in August. But I actually was blessed enough to and grateful enough to perform at the El Macombo stage on Spadina, and that was probably one of my biggest stages yet for it, with a live band. So that was like something I've never gotten to do, especially let alone being at hip hop. I was able, the musical director was able to get my single and parts of my rap to come to life, which was really cool because I've always been doing a lot of just instrumental backtrack kind of thing, but never with a live band. So I think that was probably one of my biggest accomplishments that I've ever done, and be on a big stage with a bunch of, you know, other like really talented female artists that were there as well. And that program goes from ages 14 to 25. So I was actually just right at the end of it. So I was lucky enough to make that as like my last year to really break through with it. And yeah, and ever since I've just been doing a lot more shows. But otherwise, I'm also getting connected with the Filipino Canadian community, and because they've actually established their own kind of community called PhilCan, and they have their own like music awards. So they have like nominations and all of that. So I'm two people had actually came to the Honey Jam show just to watch me perform and see how I go, and so now they're getting me connected with that. So I'm looking forward to that also. So right now I'm dropping my first single this year, and otherwise, that's gonna be one of my biggest accomplishments, because a lot of people have been waiting for my music to come out, like my craft, just because I was doing a lot of videos back then in 2019, just rapping raw, like with my voice to a YouTube beat just off my iPhone. So, and then that was kind of how I was able to build my fan base from that. And then I had that break. But then now that I'm coming back, people are like, okay, she's back. She's back on her music. Like, I want to hear stuff. I want to hear new stuff. But at this point, people are like, just drop something. So I'm on the way to doing that this year for sure.
So we've heard all the positives. Were there any negative experiences that you've had thus far?
Yes, I would say like the burnout, the just like being able to balance your life, your music, your working, family, all of that. I think this was the first year I really got to feel the fatigue, like mental fatigue, physical fatigue, and just like that feeling of burnt out. I think that it's really important to feel those feelings and just go through it, because again, it's a part of the process, and it's just understanding and being able to be self-aware of like being like, okay, wow, I need to step back. I need to actually like make sure that I'm good, because again, at the end of the day, health is wealth. And if I want to be doing if I want to be passionately doing something that I want to be doing in my life, then I got to make sure that I'm there at the end of the day, and like that I show up like all good. But I would say definitely it would be like feeling the burnout and trying to find that balance in life, and just being able to do that with like, again, your friends, your family, your musical friends, all of that, and being able to again like move on with life and exceed with your musical career. That's part, but again, it's part of the process. So it was definitely one of like the negative aspects of that. But, and again, like I think too, also with I've had also an experience with performing as well, where I would stumble on my words, or if I feel like, okay, wow, I didn't do that great. But again, again, it's all a part of the process, and I feel like every time you do something, you have to learn something from it, whether or not if it was negative or positive. But it's actually, it's your choice to like how you choose how to deal with it. But I always take everything the way how it is, whether it be negative or positive. So yeah, that's definitely, I would say, the burnout and feeling like like the emotions.
Yeah, and you kind of have to mess up sometimes to learn and just to improve on your craft too, right? So yes. It's definitely a part of the process. What about you, Connoisseur Ghost? What's your journey been like? Negatives, positive, goods, bad, ugly?
Damn.
Damn.
No, I feel like I've been talking about it for a while now, and just like explaining my the entirety of the process to a lot of people. But for me, my musical journey started pretty much in 2019. Like that's when I released my first song. That's when I started doing all of my first recordings and stuff like that. And it was really towards the end of 2019. So I kind of came into my craft going into COVID. So it's been, the whole time, it's been a very lonely journey, just kind of figuring out how to kind of build myself as an artist, and you know what I'm saying, just how it is to release music, how it is to deal with all of these different things and stuff like that from the business end of music on my own, because like even when it comes to recording and this and that, not being able to go out to the studio and everything like that. So like it's been a very lonely process, but I feel like because of that, it gave me that time that I needed to be inside and put together certain things. So when I present myself as an artist now, I can say, hey, well, yeah, I have this, I have that, and all these different things. But this has been my first performing year. So this has like a rebirth for me when it comes to music. You know what I mean? So it's now experiencing everything that I've created in these shell years, experiencing everything that I created in that time, and then getting to see what it is that everyone else's reaction to it is, and how everybody else feels about the music, and actually having that real life and personal interaction, it means so much more than being on the computer and just like seeing the numbers. So like Villa said, everything has been like, I couldn't really say that there's been too many negatives, except for the few performances that didn't go as well as we might have wanted them to. You know what I mean? But I can't really say that there's been too many negatives, because everything has been a part of the learning process to kind of acclimate every bit of where it is that I am now and where it is that the team is. And like Villa was saying, like we have our team behind us. So even when there were bad performances or performances where we didn't even perform, we still had that positive energy in the room that kept us up, you know what I mean, and kept us motivated and kept us ready for the next one. So that's a big shout out to the NLMG team and all of our guys and all the people that are with us, you know what I'm saying? Because that it's a huge support system that we never have to worry about walking into the room and not having that level of positive energy, because we always walk into the room and control the energy. So it's awesome and it's amazing, and I'm lucky that I got to meet everyone the way that I did and when I did. And yeah, that's the journey so far.
So you talked about the support system, and that's kind of why the Youth and Music program was created at Keepsakes. Tell us how you became acquainted with the Keepsakes music program.
I became acquainted with the program through getting to each and every individual performance situation. So amongst helping the team and us kind of finding our way within the performance aspect, we stumbled onto the Loud Army team and the Up to Something guys, and we got connected with them. We started having a few conversations here and there. We went out to two of their events, and then I ended up getting in touch with an artist manager named Nelly, and she was the one who actually introduced me to Richard. And then through us doing a few events together and kind of just building the community and trying to help bring more platforms and stages to artists, she kind of introduced me to him and said, well, hey, since we're doing this, I'd like to bring Richard into the situation. And then we went about trying to orchestrate the back to school drive, and then we ended up teaming up with Loud Army and Up to Something to make that happen.
Okay. So King Gang, you said you attended the recently relaunched the whole youth music program last weekend. Were you there as well, Michael?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so can you both kind of explain to us what the sessions have been like so far, and what are your expectations, from that?
You go first.
What it's been like in my expectations. What has been like has been very raw, I'll say. Very, very raw. Because Vance Media, who's hosting the sessions, it's at his place. He is a very get to the point type of guy. And when we all went in, we all were a bit confused, or not confused, we didn't know what was gonna happen. Getting to know each other, we didn't know who was gonna be in the room. And then Vance came with this big energy, and it was he told us this year, we're sticking with this. He made it from the first day. The first real spiel he got to give us was that we were making this a team. And I will never forget sitting him, watching him go off with all the animation and say this is gonna be the team right here. So yeah, honestly, my expectations is exactly that. He said that we're building a family outside of just this program. We're building something that's gonna be strong. So I'm more than confident that he's gonna hold his word.
Michael, kind of similar.
Pretty much the same thing, actually. I seen when we first went into the studio, I seen exactly what it is that he showed us his work and how it is that he kind of compiles everything that he's doing and stuff like that. So I wasn't really sure what the program was I wasn't really sure ultimately what the program was exactly offering. I knew that there was the aspect of engineering and kind of being able to learn, especially any opportunity to learn or further my craft. I'm definitely in for it and always willing to be there to take it. So walking in, he showed us what he was able to do. I've actually seen some of his work through one of my friends, Raw Talent. He's another amazing artist. So I saw some of his work through that artist there. So I actually knew him ahead of actually knowing him, right? And walking into the studio and getting to meet him and see who he is as a person, I'm very excited to work with him and kind of get his expertise on how it is to develop my craft and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
So our goal at Keepsakes is to create space for, the youth and up and coming artists in hopes that it will eventually like change the path and like direction in which they move. And also they could use it as an outlet, right? So Villa, you talked about taking a break, right? How has music helped, after taking that long break, the pandemic? All of you actually, because you all, King Yang, you said you started your work earlier this year, and I'm sure the pandemic probably affected you in getting to that point. Same. So Michael, all of you, like how can you use music as an outlet for anyone that needs to know that?
So music has definitely been an outlet for me with, of course, expressing my emotions, just how I'm feeling, or, whether I'm mad, sad, angry, happy, music is always there. I can always like put on something that can always enhance my mood and stuff. But because of the break, it really pushed me as an artist, and not just as an artist, but individually as myself. But like the kind of confidence level that I had grown within the 2 years of like 2020 till now, it's a whole different level of confidence because I've grown within that journey with myself. So there's a lot of like self-power, self-love, self-care that comes with it. So when it did come to the music, I actually had gone through a panic attack during the whole COVID indoor situation, like quarantine, and that was kind of like something that like I was like, wow, I'm really disconnected from my body. Like I couldn't even stop my heart palpitating and all that. So that kind of scared me. And but every time I was doing music, I was able to connect myself again, like with myself and with what I'm doing and what I can be relating with, especially like with life situations. But I remember like after having that whole crazy moment, when I went back to the music, I actually wrote this quarantine comeback, which was Drake's Free Smoke instrumental. So I used that and I was able to write something out of that. And I've been this year performing that rap, and it's a chant, and you would always hear, I'd go like Villa, Villa, raw voice, straight spitter, Villa, Villa, and I would get the crowd engaged with that. And I actually wrote that back in 2019, which is really cool to me because again, it shows like the process of how it was before to now, me being in like a whole new version of myself, and I'm performing this and I'm finally doing my music and my craft. It feels like I'm actually like really living it, because again, I've always visualized doing this stuff and manifest all these things, but the fact that I am doing it now, it really like sets a whole tone with what I want to be doing with my life, especially that now I'm seeing it in the grasp of my hands, like me holding the mic, me being on stage, me like feeling the energy from the crowd. Music has really taken like a huge elevation with my life on it. And again, if it wasn't for music, like I feel like I wouldn't see, I wouldn't know where my guidance is in my life is, just because again, like music really, it's such a huge powerful thing, because again, a lot of people use it as an outlet to express themselves, their art, their creative, everything. So like again, with that break, I'm actually super grateful for that break in order for me to elevate with my music.
Right. Anybody else? Outlet? Music? How is music an outlet?
Yeah. Okay. Music is an outlet. Obviously, like in the creative process and just like getting your words out there and expressing your emotions through music, there is that. But like I said, differently, getting into the performance space and becoming a part of the performance space, it's actually more interesting now to see like when you're expressing your emotions through your craft, the response that you're getting from people, it's kind of like a big thing, because it's like, hey yo, we feel that too, and you're not alone in what you're feeling, right? And that's sort of what that crowd response, that's what I get from the crowd response, right? And that's a huge thing for me right now, and that's a part of, like I said, that's a part of my rebirthing music, right? So there was the expressive side of it, where you're getting your emotions out, you're getting your feelings out, you're telling your story, and you're getting that part off your chest. But then after you've gotten that part off your chest, to see like now the response from it and the vibration from it that's being created in the room, it's a whole nother experience that's even more uplifting.
Yeah. So yeah. What advice would you give to young impressionable kids that, you know, they want to get into music and like they see it as an outlet as well? Like, what advice would you give?
My advice to kids, or the younger community, anybody who wants to get into music, especially whether it be kids or anybody who's older that maybe wants to start doing music right now too, right? My advice to them is go online, find any kind of open mics in your community, see what the music community is like, see what the experience is like, see what it is that's going on within your community, and then go to Long and McCabe, go to the music schools, go to these different places where music is sold, music is created, you know what I'm saying? Like anywhere you can buy an instrument, go there, hang out, ask questions, talk to the people in these rooms, because chances are they know a thing or two, and they'll be able to guide you along the way in a way that you would never expect. So anything then when it comes to music, just find your way to it and do that instead of playing video games. Because like there's a lot of time that does go into music and being an adult, and there's a lot of time that goes into music. And when I was even saying to myself today, like there was a lot of time that I could have just spent doing this, figuring out my craft, learning my craft, understanding my craft, and now it's like I have to find a way to balance my life while learning. And it's very difficult to balance your life while learning as you get older. So learn what you can, when you can, as you can. Yeah.
So earlier you kind of all mentioned, you know, the different support you've gotten from different organizations. We know specifically that many people of color use music to cope. What do you suggest that we as a community do to help artists like you, you know, to progress?
I would say, okay, yeah, you go ahead.
Are these
Oh.
Go ahead.
Well, I would say what would be helpful and would be nice would be like offering workshops, like little workshops that could be, it could be workshops on like stage performance or like songwriting, or just something that helps, again, like bring value to the person as an artist, and just like these skills that are important to have as an artist, like again, like songwriting, all of that. But I feel like, again, anything that involves the community connecting together and being able to meet others from other community, like from the city, like what King Ying was saying, like she's all the way from Brampton, so it's always like the music scene is obviously in Toronto, so you get other people from different cities to even come out for this kind of event. But yeah, anything that involves like networking, I'd say, little workshops, even, it doesn't have to be like a big workshop, but like small little ones that could just be like, how to like, just, it could even be people skills, like speaking to, how to build people skills and how to, network even. Yeah, like simple as that.
I would love to touch on this, actually.
Yes.
She's been waiting. She's like,
yeah, I'm like, I honestly feel like the best thing that the community can do for artists is be honest. I feel like a lot of the time people aren't being honest on what it takes to be an artist, or when someone has a certain track and there's certain things that are clearly sticking out, but people don't want to say, hey, maybe you should fix that. Like, I feel if the community starts being more honest, then the dream can feel a bit more real to more people. Because everyone, I remember even at one of the workshops I was at, because I have a friend, Alila, I'm always honest with her. I tell her, if you're not doing spoken word unless you're doing it from your heart, if you're not serious, don't do it. So there was one time we were at a session and she was practicing and she was like, da, 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 and I'm like, stop, do it again. And people were like, do you know her? Like, why are you talking to her like that? And it's like, yeah, I know her, but it's that honesty that what makes her better. I'm telling her, if you're not doing it from your heart, why are you doing this? If you can't tell someone, hey, this is why I'm doing this, then why are you doing it? And if the community could start putting that onus on people, like, remember that you're doing this for a reason. Remember that it's going to take a lot more than the bare minimum to get to where you need to get to. Then you're going to see a lot more artists getting to that point, because it's like, or even stepping back, like, you know what, I don't want to put in this work, I don't want to do this, I want to do something else, like, not wasting their time, So yeah, I really wanted to say that. Just honesty from the community instead of just blind support.
No, you're right. It's definitely a part of, like we mentioned, the growing process, to become a better artist, become better at the craft. So I 100% agree with you. So as we come to a close, I have one more question for all of you guys, and it's, what do you see next for yourselves?
Okay, so I'll do this one because this one kind of ties into what it is that we can do for the community. So a part of what it is that we're trying to do as a team, the New Legends Music Group, is we're trying to provide more performance spaces for artists. So right now, there is a huge stigma in the city surrounding the hip-hop industry and what is going on within the hip-hop culture. And we are trying to help find the spaces where artists can promote their craft, and we're trying to curate the artists so that they're able to promote their craft in the best way. So what I see for myself in the future is, obviously, I'm going to be continuing to do music as much as possible, but I want to find a way to help all of the artists in the city find that right and dynamic path that they need to find, so that they don't actively have to leave the city to get the renown and recognition that they're looking for as artists. So I'm trying to figure out a way to build that step-by-step path and help everyone get to where they need to be, and that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
For me, sorry.
Go ahead.
For me, I start every performance by saying, Heads up, eyes wide, fist clenched. My name is Kingyin, Kxngyin, and I am a revolutionary. I mean poet. And the reason I say that is because I do see myself as a revolutionary. And what I want to do for the community is bigger than just performing. And when it comes to what's next, there's always going to be a what's next because there's always work to be done. Me, I have a nonprofit organization called Royalties Revolution, and we help with the homeless community. So right now I'm curating a program for mental rehabilitation through freedom of expression. So it's just, I'm not going to go into the depth of it because obviously time is dwindling, but when it comes to me, I'm being a lot more intentional. And I feel like that's going to show through my Instagram posts, through my connection with my fans and people who care about me. So yeah, I'm just going to be more intentional moving forward.
Bella?
For myself, I can see myself, especially with being a female artist in the hip hop industry. I really want to I want to kind of break down barriers of how someone should look as an artist, or because again, I'm a female Filipina, that's from Canada. I'm different, and I want to be able to break those barriers and be okay, hey, this is a new person coming out. But I see a lot of growth within myself of being intact again with the Filipino Canadian community, just because I haven't been connected with them yet, and there is a huge community that's out there right now that I've yet to come across. But I see myself being involved with that community as well, and as well as obviously with the New Legends music group. I'm also a part of that as well. I want to be able to help with the community and be able to create a platform for independent artists to be able to bring out their craft, especially with the stigmas in the city with hip hop. Especially as soon as someone gets up there, people start to feel weird and they don't want that. But it's more, we want more love than hate, because Toronto really has the talent here. It's just we need to all come together, bring more love, and come together as a community. And that's the one way we'll be able to break through those barriers and stuff, especially being an individual versus a community, being able to move forward. But again, with myself, I see myself being able to perform a lot more and to show more of my craft, because I feel this year I haven't shown my music yet on platforms. I've just been showing a lot more in person and finding the organic growth with that and building with fans through that. But I see myself trying to get on a more digital platform versus me doing these live shows, because I haven't dropped any music yet, but I will be this year. But I see a lot more coming, because again, we're there's a Japanese word called kaizen, and that's for everlasting growth, that we are always evolving. We're always becoming the next thing. We're always working on ourselves. We're always transforming. So there's never an end to that. So we're always growing.
You're so right.
Yeah, there's no end to it. We are always growing. I'm not the same person, or we are all not the same person we were yesterday, let alone being a month ago, a year ago. We're always changing, evolving, and all of that. So
before we end, I have to say something. October is going to be a big month because I'm dropping my 4-volume album. So it's going to be 4 EPs, and Villa is going to be on it. So
I need to drop my stuff in October.
That's good.
Can I do a shameless plug?
Yes.
October, I'm dropping my first album, Soulful Meditation.
Hey!
And that's the start of my program.
Oh my god, I'm so excited to see.
Yeah, October's a huge month then.
The biggest month.
Definitely. And it's funny because Villa said something that it's always been on the top of my head, how in Toronto, we don't really support artists as much as we should. It's always outside of that, and I feel this is why we created platforms like this, and this is why Keepsakes created music programs like that, because we want to keep giving you guys platforms to express yourselves and show your crafts. So I definitely feel like we in Toronto need to do better and support these people. October, he's dropping his album, King Ying, all Villa, like you're all producing crafts, and we all need to, continuously support. And I just met you guys, but I'm proud of you guys. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. Not to mention to look out for the project that's going to come out of the Keepsakes program, because we've already started working on it. So, yeah.
Both very adamant that this is going to be something crazy. So,
yes. I'm excited.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming on. That's all we have for you guys on this week's Keepsakes, Connect the Six. Make sure to check out these amazing individuals' social media platforms as well as their music. It will be linked below. And to understand more about our music program and how you can join, visit keepsakes.org. Keep a lookout for our next post to see what we will be discussing in the next 2 weeks on Connect the Six. And once again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having me.